Valentine's Day. A time for romance and love. A time to pull your close one even closer. And if you're a lonely degenerate like me, it means a time to watch wrestling. Ultimately, it was a lovely show. Until it wasn't. Why do you do this, WWE? This is a day of love, not pain. I already feel sad and alone. Why do I have to feel more sad and alone? It's okay. I'm okay. Now that I've calmed down a bit, let's take a deeper dive into this pay-per-view. This is Vengeance Day 2021 in a nutshell. The show would kick off with Jay Will, rapping with sexual tension? Are you trying to seduce me, bro? All jokes aside, our first match will be Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai versus Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon. Before I talk about the match itself, I actually want to talk about the production of the show. I'd argue that ever since Empty Arena era began, NXT has taken the biggest hit. It's clear from watching any NXT event, especially takeovers, how important the crowd is to NXT's product. And since main roster has found success with the Thunderdome, and AEW has managed to keep in-person crowds, NXT has been lagging behind. But this is the first takeover to seem to nail the hybrid aesthetic, with a visually pleasing set and lighting. Of course, it's no replacement for a takeover crowd, but it's still definitely easier to consume the show when everything looks so nice. Both teams would make their entrances, one of them noticeably cooler than the other, and then we'd get the tag team finals underway. The match would kick off with Gonzalez running house on Ember and Shotzi. Ember and Shotzi would try, and fail, to double-team Gonzalez until Gonzalez eventually gets the tag out to Dakota Kai. Kai would miss her corner kick, giving Shotzi the chance to take control. Ember and Shotzi would work together, even wrapping both of their legs around Kai's, and using this really cool rolling power slam type move. You have to see it to believe it. They would manage to keep control of the match, until eventually Kai was able to break free and tagged in Raquel. Raquel ended up taking control of the match, until inevitably Kai would have to come back in. And if you've seen a Kai-Raquel match, then you kinda know the dynamic we're working with here. Soon, we would find ourselves outside of the ring, where Gonzalez would give us a pretty stiff-looking powerbomb to the side of the barrier. Ember, all alone, would use Dakota and Raquel against each other, even hitting an Eclipse, but was unable to score the pin. Shotzi would also get a flurry of offense in, including a pretty spooky-looking sliced bread and a pretty clean-looking suicide dive. Ember also snuck in a Doomsday crossbody before Gonzalez would take control of the match, disposing Ember on the side and taking out Shotzi all on her own. We even got a nice bit of storytelling at the end, with Dakota Kai literally hopping on Raquel's back, adding nothing to the pin, but celebrating as if she had. Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai seemed to break kayfabe near the end with a genuinely overjoyed celebration, becoming the first ever women's Dusty Classic champions. Next, they'll have to face Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax for the tag titles, and here's to hoping they can bring the belts back to the black and gold brand. Following would be a banger of a match, with Kushida going up against Johnny Gargano, accompanied by The Way. In NXT, I'm begging you, please change the name to literally anything else. Lucky for Kushida, Dexter Lumis would abduct Austin Theory before even making his entrance with Gargano. This led The Way to search for Theory, while Gargano would end up to take Kushida alone. The match started with some back-and-forth ground game, before eventually Kushida would lock Gargano in the Gargano escape, but only for a short amount of time. Soon, action would spill out to the outside. Kushida would get Gargano to tap out on the outside, not finishing the match, but injuring his arm in the process. We would get more great counter wrestling inside the ring, which, come to think of it, that could be used to describe the entire match. Somehow, Kushida would counter the slingshot spear into a chicken wing suplex, and the onslaught on the left arm would continue. Gargano got an absolutely wild, turning top rope suplex. He would also lock in the Gargano escape briefly, but would be unable to hold. Kushida would follow by hitting a Spanish Fly-like armbar transition. Again, just absolutely wild. He would also give a little Great Muta shout out with a running penalty kick. Gargano would turn things around with one final beat on the entrance ramp, and then a second final beat, and then 1, 2, 3. Gargano retains the North American Championship. If you like chain and counter wrestling, then this match will absolutely be your jam. For me personally, it's an early contender for Match of the Year, and in an absolutely stacked card, Match of the Night. The Hot Rising Stars MSK and the Grizzled Young Veterans would be tasked to follow the stellar performance in the Dusty Cup Finals. The winner, of course, would receive an NXT title shot, and this match would not disappoint. MSK would kick off the night with lots of, MSK-type moves. We saw a spinning springboard crossbody and a pair of top rope dives, one of them off the back of his partner, but the Grizzled Young Veterans would divide, conquer, and take control of the match. Eventually, Wesley got a hot tag and took a dive over the ring post, because that's totally a thing that humans should physically be able to do. But Wesley would also lose control of the match with a knee to the face. MSK would hit this damn move, which, if you've seen MSK, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not even going to try to describe it. Young Vets broke out their Suicide Doomsday Lariat. They wouldn't be able to break out the Ticket to Ride, however, and MSK would steal the win and the Dusty Cup. You have to feel for the Grizzled Young Vets here. 2 years in a row, they've made it to the championship, and 2 years in a row, they've lost. Maybe it's just me, but I hope they get their time in the sun soon, because honestly, they deserve it. Alright, so screw Match of the Night, screw wrestling in general, screw everything that WWE has produced up to this moment. Cameron Grimes, the stonk rich cowboy, producing an off-kilter music video with Old Town Road style music is the absolute best. Cameron Grimes is the man. Enough said. Kiss my grits. Next up, we've got the next stepping stone in Io Shirai's reign, with a triple threat match for the NXT Women's Championship. She would take on Mercedes Martinez and Toni Storm. Mercedes quickly jumping her at the start of the match and focusing all of her energy on Toni. And that wouldn't last long. Mercedes would take back control of the match with a twisting neckbreaker. The three would go on to take a series of moves and trade momentum inside the ring, eventually tangling each other up in a triple submission. Io would get a 619, Martinez a top rope suplex, and Io again with a double stomp Alberto Del Rio style. Unfortunately, in Toni's most notable moment of the night, she would go to clear the announce table, and after barely touching it, it would just collapse. And I think we all know who was responsible for that. Book it, you cowards. Io would save the train wreck with a crossbody 15 feet in the air, making it look like it was the most casual thing in the world. Storm would later hit a Storm Zero that Mercedes would kick out of. She would follow up with a diving headbutt, but Io Shirai would swoop in with a moonsault and get the pin. Good match, but definitely the weakest of the card. And that's not meant to be an insult either. Instead, just a testament to how strong the rest of the card is. I just hope we get some more focused feuds for Io, because she's too good and the women's division is too strong to waste her reign. Finally, to finish the night, we had Pete Dunne take on Finn Balor for the NXT Championship. And if you like technical masterpieces and mat-based wrestling, then this match was made for you. In this entire match that spans about a half hour, these two men never exited the ring. And honestly, I'm not going to take this entire match beat by beat because there's no way I can do it justice. What we did see was Pete Dunne really focus on the fingers of Balor. Okay, I know Dunne always focuses on joint manipulation, but this time, he really put it into overdrive. The match also included a pretty damn cool twisting suplex from Dunne. He would eventually hit the bitter end, but Balor would kick out. Inevitably, Finn Balor would hit the coup de grace in the 1916 for the win, attempting to celebrate with Bullet Club fingers, but unable to because of the damage done to the fingers. The real story would take place after the match, where Lorcan and Birch would come out blindsiding Finn Balor. As the two attacked, This caused Undisputed Era to come out and make the save. As Undisputed Era helped Balor back to his feet, O'Reilly seemed to make a case for Balor to join the faction, a clear sign of respect after their hard-fought battles. The four men would pose together, and just as soon as everything seemed to calm down, Cole would superkick Balor. O'Reilly looked shocked and distraught for just a moment before receiving a superkick heard around the world, effectively disbanding the UE and Roderick Strong caught in the middle, looking like a child of divorce.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
So in the end, what did I think of the pay-per-view? Well, it's no secret that 2020, NXT didn't quite have the year they were wanting. The payoffs we were looking for just didn't quite hit the way we wanted them to. But this undisputed breakup might be the shot in the arm that the brand needs. And Vengeance Day 2021, being the strongest pay-per-view since TakeOver Portland, things might be finally looking up for the Black and Gold brand.